My first reaction was, oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Not another log on the fire. This is a big, big log. This is the Yule log. This is the third log that Doc Brown put into the steam engine right before it went off the bridge. Yeah, this is the last log. This is number 3. So my reaction was that first. And then I told everybody at the table that she had just died, and everybody did the same thing. That's sad. Sorry to lose her. And especially at this time. And it's not like we didn't like her rulings.
No, I mean, look, she was you mourn for her family and the people who knew her, and I want people to live. I actually respect all human life, so would want everyone to be alive. Doesn't seem to be the opinion of a lot of people these days. But
I know.
But I will say, as a Supreme Court justice, she was obviously terrible.
Well, what makes you say that?
And she was on the wrong side of literally every single issue.
Okay, let me just say this. In an interview in 2012, she said that she wouldn't look to the U.S. Constitution if she were drafting a constitution in the year 2012. She said, quote, "I might look at the Constitution of South Africa." I mean, that was a deliberate attempt to have fundamental instrument of government that embraced human rights and have an independent judiciary. Really, I think it's a great piece of work that was done. So she wouldn't look to our Constitution. She'd look to South Africa. Also, she called for the sex integration of prisons and reformatories so that conditions of imprisonment, security, and housing could be equal. She said, if the grand design of such institutions is to prepare inmates to return to a community as persons equipped to benefit from and contribute to civil society, then perpetuation of a single-sex institution should be rejected. Okay, it's a little out there. I mean, might cause some problems, but she called for the sex integration of the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts because of the stereotypes of gender roles. She insisted on integrating college fraternity and sorority chapters, having college social societies. She may have missed the point of the sex drive, putting all these people together. She may have, anyway. She also cast constitutional doubt on the legality of Mother's and Father's Day as separate holidays, because mothers can be fathers and fathers can be mothers, I guess. She asserted the laws against bigamists, persons cohabitating with more than one woman, and a woman cohabitating with a bigamist are unconstitutional. I agree with the way they're reading it now. I happen to agree with her on that one. She objected to laws against prostitution because prostitution as a consensual act between adults is within the zone of privacy protected by recent constitutional decisions. She's right about that. The way it's being interpreted now.
Well, thanks to her, right? I mean, she's a big reason it's being interpreted that way.
Right. She also said that the concept of a husband breadwinner and wife homemaker must be eliminated from the code if it's to reflect an equality principle. She called for a comprehensive program of government-supported child care. She also wrote that the Mann Act, listen to this, that punishes those who engage in interstate sex traffic of women and girls. The Mann Act that punishes those who engage in interstate sex traffic of women and girls is offensive. Such acts should be considered within the zone of privacy. So she's not exactly...
Not my favorite.
She's not my favorite. No. She's not my favorite. She also found words offensive, and she said these words needed to go from all official documents. Man, woman, man-made, mankind, husband, wife, mother, father, sister, brother, son, daughter, serviceman, longshoreman, postmaster, watchman, seamanship, and to man a vessel.
I agree with all that except longshoremen.
Right.
I have a strong disagreement on the longshoremen.
Very strong on that one, and I understand with your history. She even wanted he, she, him, his, and hers to be dropped down the memory hole. Had to be replaced by him, he, she, her, him, or his, hers. Boy, she's out of date, huh? Not only was she very pro-abortion, she was also on the record as opposing what was settled law that the Constitution does not compel taxpayers to pay for abortions. She said, fully funded abortions should be a constitutional right. Again, I might disagree with her here and there.
Right.
She also called for affirmative action, hiring quotas for women, using the police as an example. She said affirmative action is called for in this situation. So anyway, she's done a lot of things that you disagree with. However, today, after her death, I think it's important to remember one of her really strong arguments. She said she couldn't imagine Donald Trump back in 2016 getting elected. For the country, it could be 4 years. For the court, it could be, I don't even want to contemplate that. So she didn't really like Donald Trump at all. But she did come out in 2016 and make it very, very clear that the sitting president, even a lame duck president in the last months of his term, had to fulfill his constitutional duty. And she made a very, very big point about this. Now, I have heard from AOC that her dying wish, which we can't violate, her dying wish is that Donald Trump does not nominate somebody else.
Didn't realize the Supreme Court was a Make-A-Wish foundation. I did not realize that's how this works.
Well, they're taking her body to Disneyland right now. She wanted to see that one last time. And this was her final wish. That was her Make-A-Wish. This one's her final wish. Okay.
I was like, really? They're bringing her to Disney World? That's so weird. It's so strange. Like
2020, you'd be like, okay.
I was like, wow.
All right. She's laying in state in the Magic Castle. Huh. Okay.
That's how screwed up this year is. I totally bought that.
And I'm the one on tranquilizers. Oh, man. Oh, golly. Okay. So we got to get into some of the things that people have said in the past and what they're saying now. And let's just put it this way. Everybody's a hypocrite. Okay? Everyone on all sides, everyone's a hypocrite today. And we're going to officially name that Hypocrites Day. Well, I was going to say, is it Male Hypocrites Day? And then tomorrow should be female, or would that be constitutional? Can we separate them like that? I'm really not sure. So I would be quite upset if Donald Trump did not nominate somebody right now, like today.
It is an absolute imperative. Obviously, the Democrats would do the exact same thing. Yep. But regardless of whether they would or not, you are in office. The people elected Republicans to be in office. And it is not only a thing that people are like, oh, well, this might help the base come out and vote for Republicans. Now, if they name a Supreme Court justice, if they can't get a Supreme Court justice through before Donald Trump leaves office, if he were, let's say, even were to lose, it's a reason to ever consider. You may question whether you should ever consider voting for a Republican again in your life. This is an absolute imperative. You have someone who's been on the Supreme Court almost admittedly fighting against the Constitution her entire time there. She wants that South African one to come in.
Well, it was a really good one.
It was a really good one.
Yeah, it was well thought out.
Yeah, I mean, we always think that Iceland might have been better because they did it on Twitter. So let's do it that way.
Right.
You absolutely have to. This improvement is crucial. It's on the level as important as the presidency itself or the Senate itself. You have to do it. You have to do it. And people are like, well, they made the opposite argument in 2016. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, as you point out, the Democrats were also on the opposite side, saying this standard they now believe is codified in American tradition was the worst thing that had ever happened to humanity.
Right. We have the tape. We'll play it for you. It's on both sides, but it's ridiculous.
And I'm sure we'll spend time today getting into the fact that there are some differences here that are notable and important. But it wouldn't matter if there were or not. They'd still say whatever they had to say. I would give you this one little note. And maybe we're the only people who will remember this. But both of us were on the air in 2016 saying, look, just vote on Merrick Garland and vote him down. Mm-hmm. Then you don't have to make this ridiculous, well, it's only the last second. We're only 10 months away from an election.
Just let him vote.
Just vote and vote it down. You have control of the Senate. Put him up for a vote. Watch. Remember, at that point, they would have had to get 60 votes for Merrick Garland. When you have 50, they had 54 senators, I believe, at that point, that were Republican. They would need to get 60 total votes. So the odds of that happening are basically zero. Put them up, vote them down. When they put up a new person, put them up, vote them down. Wait for the election, and then you can move on from there. Instead of doing that, they came up with this concoction, largely because they wanted to shield purple state senators in election races from having to take a tough vote. So they decided, well, what if we just kind of say, well, we shouldn't do it during an election year? And now here they are trying to kind of navigate their way between 2016 Republican position and the 2020 Republican position. There are differences. They are notable. We can go through the stats. I mean, like they have a decent argument here. But instead of just saying at the beginning, look, let's go ahead. We'll move ahead with this process as it's been done. And because we're Republicans, if you put up someone who is like leaning Republican or maybe a moderate, maybe we will say yes. But instead, what they did is come up with a left of center nominee that everyone knew was a left of center nominee. And they could have just constantly voted them down. It would have been easy to do.
That's why I'd like to see Mike Lee, because Mike Lee is so liked in the Senate by everybody. They like him. He's really soft-spoken. What are you going to say about Mike Lee? We know there's no skeletons in the closet. He's not somebody who's like, was drinking in high school and made it with a frog, even though the frog testified, to the other frogs at the time, but we can't find any of that testimony, and the frog is dead. I mean, we're not going to hear any stories.
They will absolutely say that.
They will. They will find anything, and they will concoct anything, and we know that. But you have to go with somebody strong constitutionally. Otherwise, the president, I mean, if you put another person up there, we know that we've already lost, what's his name? The Supreme Court Justice.
Roberts.
Yes. We already have lost Roberts. Roberts is gone. This is not a 5-3 court. This is a 4-4 court because Roberts is gone. He's not a conservative. He's gone. And a chance to take Ginsberg and have a real conservative in there, because I don't think we've replaced Scalia. We didn't get a Scalia for a Scalia. You know what I mean? So we haven't replaced them. And if Donald Trump loses, it's imperative. It's imperative because Clarence Thomas is already hinting about retiring in the next 4 years. So you lose Clarence Thomas and you have somebody who's wishy-washy, we're in trouble.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas, by the way, has been overruled by me on that. He cannot retire.
Oh, no. He's got to do everything that Ginsberg did. I mean, she went out kicking and screaming.
Oh.
I mean, there was no, no.
And, look.
I'm surprised until decay set in that they weren't just like, no, she's right here, look, and walking around like Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
I mean, she did not want to go down.
No. And I will say this, too. People keep talking about, they need to do this before the election. That, to me, is somewhat immaterial, whether they get it done before the election. It needs to be done before January 20th, 2021. I don't care.
I will tell you,
I honestly don't
think
care.
They should start it, because look how bad they looked.
They have to start it.
Look how bad they looked at Kavanaugh. I mean, when that thing was going on and they were pulling dirty tricks, I mean, they were apparent. They were apparent. You get somebody clean like Mike Lee, what are they going to say? What are they going to say?